Hello everyone, live online. I'm joined right now by Maty Konte, and she's from the United Nations University, and she has a PhD in economics. And besides that, she's very active for the rights of women and girls in Africa, and also for democracy in Africa. And I will just ask her a couple of questions and see what she thinks. So first of all, what do you think are effective measures to establish rights for women in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much, Luca. This is quite an exciting question, direct link to the SDG, right? So in Africa, of course, when we want to improve the rights of women and girls, the first thing to do is to reduce inequality linked to social institutions, right? Social institutions, this inequality that they live in their daily life at home, these are things that affect rights in their rights in their daily life, but also their right outside of home, right? So the first measure to do is to include women in the political life, having more women policymakers that will take decisions that are relevant for the right of half of the population. So half of the population, women and girls. So the first action that should be taken, of course, is a political inclusiveness, right? Have equal gender member at the national assemblies, having as many women as men at the local government levels, because these are people who are close to the populations and who know also what are the priority for the women and what are the priority for the girls in their local communities.
Yeah, that sounds great. And to stick with the women for a second, what is the role of women speaking about participation in social development in Africa?
Well, okay, I wouldn't say what is the role of women in political participation. Women have the same role as men, okay? Their role, of course, is to try to choose the best leaders. Their role is to try to choose the best democratic leaders. So I think the main questions that we should raise is how to increase the political participation of women, how to have a more democratic way that includes also women in the society, okay? And this is also linked to many aspects of the SDG, including educating women. So if they are more educated, they are more involved in the political life, and also they are more able to understand the meaning of democratic institutions. Okay? So the main question is not necessarily what is the role of women in political participation or in political life, but the key question is that how to include more women in the political participation in any countries, either it is in Africa, in Europe, or in Latin American countries in general.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I've just heard that you're currently writing a book, or you're participating in writing a book. Could you just explain what this book is about and just give a little bit of a hint what's the content going to be?
Okay, so I am co-editing a book which is going to be published by the end of this year. And it's a book on women empowerment and sustainable development in Africa. So it's a book that, of course, it doesn't cover all the aspects of the SDG, but at least the key aspects of the SDGs are covered. So including climate change, agriculture, education, and political empowerment. And the key message there, it is to show that for each of these different dimensions of the SDG, women in Africa, they play an important role. So the issue is not only about the SDG 5, which talks about gender inequality, but also women matters for any of these SDG. If we want a successful SDG on agriculture, for instance, of course, we should also raise the issues that women face in the agriculture sector, because women represent an important part of the people who are employed in agriculture sector. If we also want to increase the number of students who access to school and to improve the quality of education, of course, we should also tackle the issues of forced marriage or the issue of early dropped out school that many girls also are facing, okay? So that's the key message in this book, saying SDG 5 is important, it's about gender equality, but we should also put women in the center of any other of the SDGs. But it's mostly focused on Africa because it's one of the regions where women are lagged behind, okay? But of course, I do believe that the similar constraint that we find in this part of this continent, we can find it also in other different continents. So women play a central role in all the different dimensions of the SDG. That's the key message we are providing in this book.
Yeah, all right. So to ask you a little bit more personal question towards the end, honestly, what's your outlook into the future? What is the current situation? And do you think that the right for women and the implementation of the SDGs in Africa will be happening, will be successful?
Well, okay. So this is a personal view, right? So the SDG, the lifetime of SDG is supposed to end in 2030. So I do believe important and successful progress will happen, right, in terms of increasing the rights of women and girls. But I do believe that by 2030, we are not going to remove all the gender inequality that exists, because many of these gender inequality dimensions are related to cultures, are related to religion, are related to social norms. And these are things that are not easy to remove. We will need time, or we will go beyond the 2030. We may go up to 2040. But the important thing is that actions are getting taken, right? To take actions, to take the right actions. And in the future, then we will see that significant progress will be made. And I do believe that by 2015, we will remove all the different type of gender inequality. But of course, by 2030, we will still talk about gender inequality all over the world.
That sounds great, and that's a perfect last statement for a little conversation. So the development will last a long time, and the outcome will not be immediately be obvious. But the actions we have to take now.
Yeah, the result will be obvious. We will see it. We will see concrete outcome. But not everything will be completely removed. Not all the gender inequality will be completely removed by 2030.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining me on stage today.
Thank you.